This edition of MacVoices is supported by you, our viewers and listeners, through our new Patreon campaign. If you get value from MacVoices, please consider helping support the show by visiting patreon.com/MacVoices. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, the road to Macstock is winding down a little, but we've still got more to go, and we hope you will join us.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
Down, girl, down. We hope you'll join us in Woodstock, Illinois. And if you had no idea who that voice is, you really should. Allison Sheridan is here to talk about whatever she's going to be talking about at Macstock. Allison, it's good to have you. Thanks.
Well, finally, I just kept begging to be on, and you wouldn't let me on and wouldn't invite me.
I know, I know, and I didn't try to have this discussion with you at NAB in Vegas a few months ago. That didn't work.
Well, I knew I was going to be on the show, but you didn't tell me I had to talk about Macstock. I wasn't ready yet.
Oh, I see.
I try to do these things at the last minute, Chuck. You know, all that preparation and practice and all that. That's just it's not my style.
Well, what's going to be interesting is when we do the split screen and we're both up on the same time, I've got an orange shirt on, you've got a red shirt on, so I think the whole thing's just going to explode right there.
Well, actually, I've got a red shirt on. That's dangerous.
Yeah. Well, and combined with the orange, I don't know, man. I may have to change the filters a little bit.
There you go. Oh, and we should mention, I am having my bathrooms remodeled. The demolition started today. So if you're hearing banging, that's my cast iron bathtub being broken in half and pulled out right now. So it makes for good audio, right?
Well, the workman had a nice beat to it, ding, 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 ding. So it works for me.
I made him let me help for a little while.
Oh, I'm sure.
I got to shatter some tiles. It was really fun.
Yeah, just to get your aggression out, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
So
to talk to you.
We're doing Macstock again. And this is one of the highlight weekends of my year, and I think it probably is for you too, because we get to see so many of our friends, we get to make new friends, and we get to just hang out with a bunch of Apple people, and it's just so much fun.
Absolutely. The when they first came up with this idea between Barry and Mike, the thing Barry missed about Macworld the most was the community, and it was an interesting vibe at Macworld. Everybody was just friendly. There was nobody was snooty. I've been to a few conferences. I'm going to make fun of the Linux community a little bit, where I couldn't get anybody to talk to me. I literally could not join conversations, and I could talk to anybody. I mean, I had a guy once, I sat down with some guys and started to ask questions, and the guy literally told me I couldn't talk to him because I didn't have a gray beard. Word for word. He wasn't joking either. He was not kidding. It was like, leave. So anyway, it's not like that with the Mac community, and that's been absolutely captured with Macstock. Macstock has great presentations, but it's also filled with a lot of time to just getting to know people and share stories and make friends. So it's a social thing where everybody has the same subject as you. That makes it really fun.
Yeah, we've talked to so many people on the show here about Macstock, and we've talked about the learning, and we've talked about the friendships, and we've talked about the socialization, and we've talked about making connections at Macstock, and that's one that I want to make sure we touch on again, because if you don't show up, you can't make those connections. But what you're going to do is you're going to sit down in the audience beside somebody like Allison, or at lunch with somebody like me, or get into something, one of the Friday or Saturday night activities with somebody like Adam Christensen, and we're
cocktails
all just
at 2 a.m. Whatever it takes.
Yeah, well, whatever it takes.
That happened last year.
Yeah, and it's fun. It's an intimate little group. In some ways, yes, I definitely want to see Macstock grow, but I also don't want to see it grow too big, because you lose that intimate feel that it has, and it's just so much. It's so much fun, but it's so beneficial.
We're going to be those old farts going, I remember when it was the first year, it was the best, all these kids today.
Hey, we've got some younger people that have come in past years, and they're coming back, and they enjoy it. And I think they're starting to see some of the benefits of those in-person connections. I mean, we all do so much virtually, but there's nothing quite like the in-person connection.
Right. We've actually, a young Nosilla castaway, you didn't manage to work my name into the show at all, so I appreciate that. I do a show called the Nosilla Cast, and the fans named themselves the Nosilla Castaways, and there's an 11-year-old Nosilla castaway who is going to be coming to the show for the first time. So his name is TJ, and we're super excited that we're going to get to meet him and his dad. It should be really fun.
Yeah. See, those are the kind of things, and there have been several parents that have brought kids, younger kids. And I love that fact because they're supporting the kids' interest in tech. They're supporting the whole family values thing that really is part of this community. I mean,
you love children, right, Chuck?
Oh, I like kids. I like kids. Don't
as long as they're not yours.
Don't start. Don't see. She's starting already. All right, so let's shift. We're talking up Macstock. We love it. That much is established. But what are you going to be talking about this year?
Well, this is very odd. So, as people have already figured out by now, or it's been explained to them, the plot line this year is productivity, and so there's good. Now they're drilling. That's a good noise. Anyway. That's a great subject, and that is absolutely my jam. I mean, I love productivity tools. I am not a big getting things done person. I use my email as my inbox, which is what you should never, ever do. And yet I love productivity tools. However, I decided this year to focus on things that I do in Mac OS that make me more productive that are not specific tools at all. In fact, I've discovered one piece of it is absolutely not going to work in the big room. It's going to have to be in the deep dive session. So it's 20 minutes on the big stage and then 40 minutes in the deep dive. Is one of the things I'm crazy about, and it sounds really, really boring, is keystrokes to move around when you're typing. So I write about 5,000 words a week in my blog, writing up blog posts that later on become part of the podcast. And I do all kinds of keystrokes to jump word to word, to jump to the end of the line, to jump to the top of the page, to select a bunch of text. I do a lot of things with the keyboard to make me more productive when I'm typing. I discovered I started working on my charts, if you will, and I'm doing little video demos and stuff, so I don't do live demos. And which is a pro tip, by the way. Don't do even as much as I love a live demo. If it even smells like it's going to talk to the internet, you're going to fail big time. But anyway, I was working on these little videos, and you know how you can make the cursor bigger for a presentation, or if you're low vision, you can make the cursor bigger. Guess what you can't make bigger? The blinking bar that goes where your cursor is in text. It can't be done. It is not possible to do it. It doesn't matter how big you make the text on screen. It doesn't matter how low a resolution you make the monitor. The vertical line stays really, really thin.
Huh.
Wouldn't you think that was there?
Yeah, I would think so, or that somebody would have developed a third-party utility that would do it.
Wouldn't you think? Now, I spent probably 3 days looking for tools and talking to people, and I actually, a guy that works for Don McAllister, and I apologize for not remembering his name, because I asked them, those of us that work for Don doing videos, there's got to be a tool for this, and he found a way to actually hack TextEdit, because TextEdit was made open source, so you can get to old versions of TextEdit. He wrote a hack for TextEdit that made that blinking thing bigger. So if I wanted to isolate everything to just that old version of TextEdit, yes, I could do the demo, but I couldn't show it in anything else. So that's going to be on the small screen or in the small room where I can get everybody to scoot up close. Now, you can't do things with Zoom. So and I'll be doing some of that, too. Control scroll up to zoom. You can zoom small portions of the screen. But since I'm moving the cursor like from the beginning of a line to the end of a line, it's just going to be like bleep, 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 going back and forth. It would look horrible. So that's part of what I'm doing, but there's also a lot of tricks in the Finder, in renaming files and adding tabs to folders and things. I mean, there's a lot of little tricks and tips and stuff that I like to do in there that make it a lot easier.
This is going to be...
Sounds really boring, doesn't it?
No.
When I describe it, it sounds really bad.
No, it doesn't. But I think it's going to be really interesting. I almost hope somebody that's a little obsessive compulsive will pay attention to all this stuff and see how much overlap there is between sessions, because I think there is going to be some, and that's fine. I mean, if you attack productivity from one angle, I'm going to attack it from another, and
we might meet in the middle. Yeah,
well, there'll be some Venn diagram overlap, no question about it. But there are almost going to be different reasons for doing some of these things, and I would not have. That's honestly, I'm not sure. I knew that there were keyboard commands to do that, but I guess I don't write enough or not in that fashion, long form enough to really feel like I would benefit from that.
From learning them?
Yeah, to this point.
Yeah.
Now, maybe after I see you do it, I'll think, oh my God, why didn't I do that before?
And that's part of the problem with my whole talk is there are people for whom keystrokes are anathema. I mean, they don't ever want to do it. So I'm going to kind of start out by saying, okay, so if to use Spotlight, you take your hand and you put it on your mouse or your trackpad and you drag all the way to the upper left and you click on that little magnifying glass, you can pretty much go take yourself a little nap right now because you're not going to get anything out of my talk. Because I just to watch somebody do that makes me crazy. It's like command spacebar. Why would you not command spacebar? You do it all the time. Learn that keystroke. But there's people that just don't do keystrokes. And then there's the nutcases at the other end. Like, I don't know if you've ever paid attention to Don McAllister, but man, that man, he uses keystrokes on things I would have never thought to use keystrokes for. And he's actually written some really cool scripts for in Keyboard Maestro for editing ScreenFlow videos that are fantastic. And I use those because you do it so often. Those keystrokes are useful. But some of us don't have as big of a buffer for memorizing keystrokes to want to do that. So I figure about half the audience is going to be asleep by about 5 minutes in, I'm thinking, on the first one. But I'll probably get 3 or 4 people into the deep dive. What do you think?
I think you'll get more than that. And those are it's almost tough to talk about productivity for any length of time without jumping around a bit. It's easy to say, okay, Wally Czerwinski is going to be doing something that I think really does lend itself. I just talked to Wally. He's talking about multicam editing. Okay, that's fine. That's going to be a nice, not lengthy topic, but a topic that can go and go and go, and you'll pick up a lot of tips for doing that. What you're talking about, though, is just how to be productive in a lot of different applications and a lot of different scenarios, and that just lends itself to jumping around a bit, and that means that if I don't like the first 5 tips, maybe I'll get something out of number 6, 7, and 8.
Yeah, I'm hoping that maybe I should number them. That's a good idea. But, the format is curious. A 20-minute session and a 40-minute session is a curious way to do this because do you give people just a teaser and do it so fast they can't possibly learn anything so they have to go to the deep dive and you do it all slower? Or do you give them the first third of your tips and give them the other 2/3 of the tips in the second session? How do you slice that pie up in the right way? And that's kind of why I've struggled a little bit with how to do this because some of the tips maybe lend themselves to the big screen and that'll work. So it's a funny thing, Yeah, but that may be part of the brilliance of it because that means that either any of the ways you just described are perfectly acceptable, whether it's 1/3, 2/3, or. But do I put all the good stuff in the second 2/3? Oh, but and you don't go because you didn't hear about anything good in the first third. Well, but it's all good stuff, right? Well, I don't know. I'm trying to talk you up, Allison. You should probably go to somebody else's session. I don't know. I wouldn't go to mine. Actually, one of the things I always say is I may not always be right, but at least I'm entertaining. So you have that going for you. And I am going to tell people this is the kind of session I want you to bring your laptops. And some of the stuff works on the iPad as well. So there's a lot of keystrokes you can use on the iPad, especially if you have a keyboard attached, like the smart keyboard. So if people have those devices with them, this is not a put your pencils down and pay attention to me session. It's a pull your devices out and play along with me and try these things and see if they work for you. That's another interesting point that some of the sessions, I think, because we've talked to most of the speakers by this point, some of the sessions are going to very much be put your pencils down and pay attention. Others are going to be pull up your devices and do it along with me. Others are just going to be take notes on this because we're going to throw a lot at you. And so, and again, I love that because that means that if your particular style doesn't suit someone, Adam Christensen's is going to, or Gene McDonald's is going to, or Kelly, or any of the speakers. So that's the other thing. The speakers are all so good. These are all great people. And I did hear you trying to slam me and Adam defending me at the in his little interview here on MacVoices. I don't remember that on your little show here. I don't. It's funny that you. I don't remember. Don't seem to remember that. No, Adam's my buddy. Adam defended me. So good for Adam. He can be misled. You Californians all stick together, right? Good. There you go. Allison, we're talking, you've given an idea of what you're going to be doing, but are you going to be just jumping around in the Finder, or are you going to dive into specific apps with specific things? There are a few app-specific things, and I'm actually not kidding. I still have not storyboarded all of it. I've got it all in a mind map, and I've done the part that's going to be during the big stage part. I think the other part I don't need to do pre-recorded sessions because it's a little more forgiving that you can say, hey, let's try this, let's see how this works, and see what the audience is responding to in a smaller environment. So I'm not. I will be doing some stuff like in Safari that's pretty fun. So, but I want to just tease that. I don't want to give you much detail on it. See.
Oh yeah, I didn't mean detail. I just meant, are we going to spend all our time in the Finder and a text program, or are we going to be visiting other apps?
It'll be more Finder than anything else, but there is going to be some Safari stuff, and I should probably bring my outline up and see what else is in there. I didn't even prepare for this talk.
Right? You wrote it. Why?
Yeah. Well, I am not known for practicing my stuff. And I know that sounds really funny, but I've done public speaking for so long that I get I'm pretty good at pulling it off when I get up there. So it's not something where a lot of people will go over and over and over their presentation until they get it just snap perfect together, and that's just not the way I get there. And I think I still do pretty well. I used to speak to in real life to 150 people every other week. And I usually didn't even have an agenda to go with that. Yeah, I'm going to be talking about Safari. Oh, there's some. Oh, and all apps is going to be that. I might look at some PDF stuff, might be in preview. I had some mail stuff, but I think I'm going to throw that out. I've got that color-coded to get rid of, so. But everything I'm going to show is built in. It's not going to be, you're not going to buy a single tool as a result of learning from me.
Got it.
Sometimes that's nice.
Yeah. Yeah, because like with Wally always costs me money because he always brings the coolest toys.
Yep. Save your money in my session and then spend it on his.
Yeah. So let's do a little bit inside baseball. You just said something that I find intriguing, and you said you need to get it. You've got stuff in a mind map. Do you find the mind mapping methodology easier than, say, an outline or some other method?
Yeah, and I actually I developed my process from something I learned from David Sparks years ago in a Macworld talk that he did. He did one of those high-speed talks. I forget what they were called. And one of the cool things about doing a mind map is you can create in a mind map and you can export to OPML, open it up in an outline, work in the outline for a while, spit it back into OPML, and open it back up in the mind map. You can round trip back and forth between those two. And he explained in his talk that that's the way he writes his books. Is he writes in a mind map and then he moves it to an outline, and then from there it starts to get fleshed out into other tools, but he sometimes goes backwards. When I talked to him recently, he just stays in the mind map now. He doesn't go back out. He doesn't go into the outline. The thing about a mind map is it's a lot easier to just spit a bunch of stuff on the screen and they go, hey, wait a minute, this kind of goes with that, and this thing up here goes over there. If you're looking at stuff in a list view of an outline, it's not as obvious that, hey, I'm talking about something to do with the tab key on the bottom left over here and up over there. Hey, wait a minute, there's something like that. Let me put those two pieces together, or to reorder them to say, hey, this should really go above that. And you can color code things. So as I finished something, this is what I use for doing the videos for Don McAllister. I do a mind map. Maybe I should have done it on mind mapping. Maybe I might change my talk. Good idea, Chuck.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
But I like to color code as I finished them. So right now, the sections that I've already done, those are now bright green, and I can collapse it down, and I know that whole section is done. I've got some sections in light blue, and my color code says, well, light blue might not really work that well. Let's hold that one, see if I need it for filler. But I want to concentrate on this other stuff that's in purple because that's better stuff that I want to do. But mind mapping is a really, really fun thing to do to get ideas together. The craziest mind map I ever made, by the way, was I mind mapped all of the iOS 11 settings, all of them, in one giant mind map. I went down every single menu tree, every single path, and with it printed, I had it in all on one side of the mind map. With the whole thing expanded, if I printed it 11 inches wide, it was 4 feet tall. So that's not text you can read.
Yeah.
It was 4 feet tall.
Wow. Which
that was just an obsession, just to see if I could do it.
Yeah, I was going to say, and that gives you an idea of just how sophisticated iOS is, but that's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah, or I had a lot of cases of going like, you didn't need a separate menu for this. There's a whole bunch of points in it. Somebody said I should have printed it out and made it a scroll and sent it to Tim Cook saying, look how absurd this is.
Okay, so I'm going to save us both some emails. What mind mapping software do you prefer for Mac or iOS or cross-platform?
I'm a fan of iThoughts. I think I don't know if they still call it. Yeah, it's iThoughts X or iThoughts 10 on the Mac. Runs on the iPad, on the iPhone, and on the Mac. So the nice thing is you're at the grocery store, or the DMV or whatever, and you go, oh, I got to remember to tell them about this awesome keystroke I know. You can just pop it up on your phone and stick it in there, and then it's all synced. You can sync it through Dropbox and some other ways, but I use Dropbox. So that makes it really nice to be able to, the whole idea is just get your ideas out there when you're thinking of them, and then organize it later in color code and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
I don't know that there's a right answer to that, but I'm really fond of iThoughts, and I've been using it forever. It's not super cheap, but but I haven't paid for an upgrade in absolutely years, and it's not a subscription, so it's got that part going for it, right?
Yeah, well, that's why I ask, because that's going to be the first question that people ask, especially after you describe the mind mapping process. Well, what do you do? What do you use to do this? So iThoughts, okay.
Yeah. I'm looking right now. It's for Windows, Mac, iPad, and iPhone.
Wow. Okay.
So that's everything but Android on there. I don't know how much it costs though. They want to tell me about their cookies first. But anyway, it's in the App Store. Go look it up. But it's it's a great app. I really like it. MindNode is also very good. I started on MindNode, and then I tried iThoughts and kind of moved away from it. It's from toketaware.com, by the way. TOKETAWARE.
Great.
I probably should have done it on Mind Maps. It's probably not too late to change it. I might do that.
Well, call Mike. And that means then, folks, that half of this interview is worthless, but the other half will be really right on point. So,
no, I know what I do. The stuff on stage is the keystroke stuff, but then if you go to my session, you're going to learn about mind mapping. Well, I could do that.
There you go.
Or trick them the other way around, show them the sexy mind mapping stuff, and then they end up with the boring text editing stuff when I go into the back session.
Here, let me get my Mike Potter. Hello, Mike. Get ready.
I'll just tell them it was your idea.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks.
Chuck.
Yes, my Allison's session will be dedicated to me. Thank you. That's good. That's good. It sounds. I mean, I don't care what you do. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be valuable, and that's another point we've been trying to make. To something you said earlier, there's so many great presenters. If somebody's session doesn't resonate with you, hey, that's fine. Go to one of the others, or wait 20 minutes on the main stage, and you'll have somebody new and something new to listen to.
Yeah. I just hope I'm not across from anybody really good. Well, I could be across from you, and they would go to my session for sure, based on that alone, right?
Yeah.
What are you going to talk about, Chuck?
We're going to have a little bit of overlap, because I'm going to be talking about buying what you use and using what you buy.
Okay.
Trying to get the most value out of things that you've already spent the money on, what you should spend money on, or what I think you should spend money on, and how you should figure out whether something is worth what you're going to spend on it. So that's the way I'm going to approach productivity, because I'm being a business guy. That's sort of the way I look at things, is what's the cost benefit. Yes, sometimes you just buy things because you want them, but if we're really down to productivity, I need to be able to justify spending money on certain things.
It's just really going to get something done for me, right? Well, yeah, I worked for a boss who had the same philosophy, who was, one of the things you love to do in IT is invent new stuff. And so we were always trying to make new stuff. And she's like, why don't we use what we already paid for? That's a way we could go. She was crazy, though.
Well, we're probably related. No question about it. So we've been making sure that the speakers all have a chance, because Mike offered all of the speakers a code that will get their fans and listeners or viewers or whatever the best price that they can get for Macstock. And I believe it's like $70 off the price at this point, because all the early bird discounts are gone, and now it's just straight retail. But if you use Allison's code, which is...
Well, we think it's Podfeet. It's a good guess.
Okay. We think it's Podfeet. Or if that doesn't work, you can use mine, MacVoices, and you can get that $70 off. And that is just such a phenomenal value for 2 days of content, 2 evenings of entertainment, 2 great lunches, some fantastic people. I think Mike will have a little bit of swag as well there. So yeah, it's just going to be a very, very cool event.
Yeah, I'm looking for Mike's email right now. It's got to be Podfeet, right? Yeah, there it is. It's Podfeet, all capital letters. Podfeet, I think.
Okay.
I don't know if that matters, but yeah, you should go. I mean, I can't think of any reason not to go except for I don't know. You can't afford it. You can't get there. Well, there's probably some excuses. You had a good video last year on why you shouldn't go, as I recall.
Yes, that was an inspired little afternoon's work that I understand raised some cane at your house.
Yeah, I think we enjoyed it as much as anybody else did. That's for sure.
Yeah. So, Macstock2018.com with the code Podfeet or MacVoices will get you the best price. Neither one is better price, so that'll get you there. Check out all the speakers. Check out all the sessions. You've been hearing about all the speakers here on MacVoices. Please join us. We're going to have a ball. We really want you there.
Absolutely. You should go. It's fun.
Yes.
We want to meet you.
Yes. Amen.
And I'll keep you away from Chuck. It'll be great.
And I'll keep you away from Allison, and it'll be great. So where do folks find you? Like they have any trouble finding you, but what are the social media presences and everything else you're doing?
So the main place to go is podfeet.com, Podfeet, and that's where you can see all of my podcasts. I've got one called the NosillaCast that I mentioned earlier, which is mostly me. Every other week, it's got a security bit section with Bart Bouchatz, where he does a deep dive in all the security things that have gone ablazing in the previous 2 weeks. It's a really cool section because he tells you whether or not to light your hair on fire about whatever horrible thing has happened in the last 2 weeks. And then I have 2 shows, Chit Chat Across the Pond Light and Programming by Stealth. So Chit Chat Across the Pond sort of split in half in the last couple of years. Programming by Stealth is, again, with Bart Bouchatz. He's teaching us to program in an audio podcast with amazing written tutorials that he writes. And he's teaching me on the air, and everybody else learns. We have homework together. It's a lot of fun. And then Chit Chat Across the Pond Light is an interview show sort of like what Chuck does here, except it's usually not vendors. Every once in a while it's a developer, but usually it's just interesting people in tech. And since I never really defined what the show's about, you don't really know what you're going to get. It might be somebody not super technical. Like last week, we had Dr. Marianne Gary, who's a professor in memory research out of the University of Waikato in New Zealand. And she was in there talking about why using facts and data to try to convince somebody of something never works. So they're interesting shows of different interesting tech people. So all those shows are over at podfeet.com, and you can find me on Twitter at Podfeet, Facebook by my name, Allison Sheridan, even though I'm not sure. Did you ever say my name? Yeah, I think you did.
Yeah, I think I did. You've had her
search for Podfeet, you'll find me.
Yeah, you've had her on before a couple times, I think, haven't you? She is very interesting. 4th
or 5th time.
Yeah, she is very interesting. I don't remember the other time she's been on talking about memory, but
yeah, she works in false memories and the implications with the law of like eyewitness testimony. And basically her shtick is she can introduce false memories in people. So she can convince you that you got lost in a mall when you were 8 years old and what color, and you'll be describing what shirt you were wearing when it happened by the time she's done with you. She can do that in like more than half of the people that she does it to. So she's basically debunking false repressed memories is the main thing.
Interesting.
And how you can introduce fake ones into people by how you talk to them. So yeah, anytime she's on, I get more mail than almost anything else I do because people really love it. She calls herself the crusher of dreams.
Wow, what a wonderful reputation to have.
Well, did you and your sister ever argue about how something happened when you were a kid?
No.
Really? She's always right then?
Actually, most of the time she is, yeah. Unfortunately, she has an amazing memory, so I just usually default to her. But the funny thing is, no, that's an interesting question. I don't think we've ever really disagreed. She will remember more detail, but we don't disagree on that. So
really, oh man, no. My brothers and I are always like, no, I was 7. No, we lived in Dearborn at the time. It was when we were in Plymouth. Goes on and on and on and on and on.
I do have to ask you something, though, and I don't know that you've ever really addressed this. Chit-chat. No, this is a serious question. Chit-chat across the pond, the NosillaCast, And I know what NoSilvacast is. What was the other one?
Programming by Stealth.
Programming by Stealth makes sense. But you've named your other shows, you're right, in a way that you're never quite sure what they're about. And that's not a shot. I'm a legitimate question.
Well, what's the question?
Well,
why?
Yeah, was that intentional or did it just happen that way?
I'm just really good at SEO. That's what it is. Search engine optimization, right? No, I'm not really sure why I did it. It was probably a huge mistake in the long run, but it worked for me. You can't ever say I'm off topic, because how do you figure out what on topic is? I mean, Chit Chat Across the Pond started because it was me talking to Bart, and Bart lives in Ireland, and there's a pond between us, so it was us chit-chatting across that pond. But I didn't put anything in the name to say it's about technology. And so eventually Bart wasn't able to be on all the time, so I started having other guests on, and then it splintered off when he started doing Programming by Stealth. He did a series called Taming the Terminal. By the way, if you want to learn the terminal, there's it's like 38 part episodes just dedicated to learning how to use the terminal to do stuff. And that's a fantastic sequence, and it's evergreen, it's standalone, it's a podcast that's out there that you can go listen to. But yeah, no Silicast, if people haven't figured out, it is my name spelled backwards. I don't know. It just happened.
Yeah, it always intrigued me that that I think I first heard you on Tim Verporten's show years and years ago, and then the NoSilvacast started, and I found out what NoSilvacast was. It was Allison spelled backward, and I didn't know what to expect. And of course, it came into tech, and then you have the subtitle of
a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias.
Yeah, I love that little note. That little note that you hit. It's, but yeah, so it makes sense. But it's one of those things. I'm always kind of intrigued by the way that founders name their companies, the software companies, and how people name their podcasts and where they come up with it. So, but it suits you. It seems to fit. The Podfeet is that Steve, my husband, says I have feet like pods. That is the only reason it's called podfeet.com. Now that I didn't ask about, and I wasn't going there. So thank you for volunteering.
Did you want to see my feet? I can show you.
No.
I can do live long and prosper with my toes.
No,
did you know that?
No, please don't.
Come on, I'll show you now.
No, come to the Star Trek convention in August in Vegas.
I'll show you at Macstock.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
We have cocktails at 2.
Okay, that's good. I'll be hiding in bed with a locked door at 11. Hey, it's fun, Allison. We have such a great rapport and so much fun the way we pick on each other. But it's going to be a blast in Woodstock.
It will be. I can't wait.
I can't either. We'll see you there.
All right. Bye-bye.
Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices. One more time. Macstock2018.com with the code Podfeet or MacVoices. You get the best price. We want, as Allison said, and I agree, we want to meet you at Woodstock at Macstock. Until the next time, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our MacVoices Facebook group and get more out of your Apple Tech with MacVoices magazine, free on Flipboard. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us at patreon.com/MacVoices and join these folks who help keep MacVoices coming to you. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by Cashfly at cashfly.com. You really can.
I can.
If you
I
do
taught
it,
myself to do it when I was in college.
I did not stop the recording. If you do it, it'll be an outtake. I promise you.
Will it really? Can I do it without being obscene?
I don't know.
Let's see. I'll do it up here. I got to get my foot in the right place. There we go. Okay. Take some concentration. Here we go. Can you see it?
Yes, I actually can. Oh my God. Okay.